Welcome to Dear God Love Me, the podcast. I am your host, Ro McKenzie, and author of Dear God Love Me, Volumes 1 and 2. And I have with me a very special guest today by the name of Miss Simona Ross, who I like to call the beauty blueprint, if you will. So if you can just introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. First of all, I am Simona Petra Ross. The only reason I'm adding my middle name is because that's part of the brand name of my brand of makeup artistry, Naturally Petra, which I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also an evangelist, a prayer warrior. First and foremost, I love the Lord. I'm a mother, recent grandmother. I'm pursuing my master's at this time in religious education, and I'm just excited about being here with Ro here, who has this wonderful concept of Dear God Love Me. It's amazing, and I believe as women we have so much to share. My experiences and platforms like this open the door for that, so I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you.
So we're talking a little bit today about overcoming. And when I was kind of going through and figuring out who was going to be here for what, you were the first person that came to mind for this topic. And a little bit of my experience with overcoming at the time that I wrote the book was from a very different perspective than what I would probably share today. But overcoming is I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. I'll put it like that. I can't wait to hear what you have to share about it. But in my personal experience with it, it was kind of like the things that I was going through at that time and the reference points that I had at that time were kind of like, once I got to a certain point in the obstacle that I was dealing with, I kind of realized that everything I needed to overcome was already placed inside of me.
Yes, I love that.
And that was very instrumental in me being able to kind of pick myself up and go through certain things that I felt at one point were insurmountable. So I want to know more about your relationship, if you will, with overcoming and different things that you've had to face and get through.
Well, I love the way you presented that. I'm going to refer to my notes a little bit because I just want to stay on task about the approach to overcoming. I am a IPV, intimate partner violence. I'm going to say not survivor, but a victor.
Okay.
Domestic violence. That's one of my experiences. And because of that, I ended up becoming a single parent, never expecting to be a single parent.
Right.
And the challenges that came with that has a lot to do with my overcoming perspective.
Right.
Because the challenges that were just thrown at me was something I never expected. I never thought I would be facing divorce or anything like that. Never ever expected to be a single parent, and never ever expected to be experiencing, intimate partner violence,
Right.
And through in ministry, in the body of Christ, both in ministry, and so
did not know that.
Yeah, so that's something. Making a choice, the choice I had to make as far as overcoming was not just my overcoming, but my children's overcoming.
Yeah.
Because you can't allow children to think that's okay, because they'll relate it to, they're always in church, and so what they do, so I guess it's okay with God. So,
right.
That was part of my propelling and, fueling me to overcome. And it came with so many legs and dynamics and other things. And really, when you're dealing with someone in that mindset, that abusive nature goes to another level as far as wanting to control everything that you do. So when you decide you're going to be free, you're going to have a battle.
Yeah.
You're going to have to know that you want to overcome.
Right.
You have to be determined. One thing I would say about overcoming is you have to have a determination within you. I want to just reiterate, if you don't mind, your definition that you had on your information. You said overcoming is to succeed in dealing with a problem or difficulty, defeat an opponent, and prevail. And I want to also say that overcoming is not just an event or happening. It's a lifestyle and a disposition.
That's good. Yeah.
It's a disposition you have to decide to walk in. It's not like walking around like I'm an overcomer. It's not that. It's that in life, no matter who you are, no matter what level you're on, no matter how rich or poor, whatever the case may be, you're going to face something that you have to overcome, whether it be internal or external.
Right.
And sometimes what we have to overcome external is because of what's going on internally.
Yeah, that's good.
Because it kind of makes us live or act in a way that's creating obstacles
for ourselves. Yeah.
You know, the enemy, that's the enemy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that overcoming is a topic that needs to hit everybody, no matter what stage of life, no matter what age. The things that even our youth are dealing with today, they have to be overcome.
Have to be.
You don't have a choice. And I like the way one of the major things you emphasized in Dear God Love Me is the intimacy with God. You know, I'm a prayer warrior. I believe in prayer. And, you know, prayer is like the highest form of worship.
Yeah.
And that's that place where you get so close to God. You called it a no judgment zone, this platform. And I wanted to just embellish that and then add to it even more that intimate place with God is a no judgment zone.
Absolutely.
We know God is a just judge, but in the place of intimacy, that's not what's happening. It's that place where the love of God is allowing you to see yourself in a mirror that's embracing, even if you're looking at flaws. And it's that love that you feel from God in that intimate place that propels you to the place of overcoming, because now you have this great God that loves you so much that you can't just live life in a defeated place.
Right.
That love inside of you from God really charges you that I have to live. And I can't just be normal or average or just accept things the way they are, because this great big God loves me.
Loves
and
like
that's
me.
That's what I love about your platform, because it's like, I feel like that's what you're saying. This amazing God, like, you know, I'm not all that, and I see my flaws and I know my mistakes, but somehow, you know, what manner of love is this? God's love transcends all of that and puts us in this place where we're like the most precious thing.
Right.
And I think that that's the place where you really overcome. I think it's the love of God that puts the fight in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you all of a sudden realize you're made in His image and His likeness, and that you don't just have to, you know, I was telling somebody, I have challenges in my life right now, but it doesn't mean I have to choose to live less. He came to have life in that more abundantly, and I can choose to live life abundantly even in the midst of challenging circumstances.
Right.
Doesn't mean I have to box myself down into the challenge.
Absolutely.
You know, there's this saying that you don't tell God how big your problems are. You tell your problems how big your God is.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like a slogan and it's a catchphrase, but that if you really meditate on that, that's overcoming. It's like, yes, this Red Sea was right in front of Moses.
Right.
But God was like, well, what's in your hand?
Uh-huh.
You know, I can't imagine how daunting that was. And that's like a really far-reaching example, but I'm like, but we feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what if you're Hezekiah and the prophet came and says you're about to die? And you're like, what? But he overcame because he turned his face to the wall. He went to God. He went to that intimate place. But God, like, he talked to him from that intimate place.
Right. I think what's so beautiful about being intimate with God is that I don't like feeling like I'm performing, right?
Yes.
Because even with one another, sometimes with our peers, with people in ministry, it kind of turns into this performative, like, transactional exchange where I have to impress you in order for you to look at me a certain way, or I have to. But when you're intimate and sincere with God, it doesn't matter what you're dealing with, as long as you just bring it to Him.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how I try to govern my life. Like, even if I'm struggling with something, even if I'm wrapped up in something that I didn't necessarily mean to get into, if I go to Him, as long as I can make it to Him, He'll make sure it's okay. So, but if I'm hiding it and I'm trying to perform and I'm trying to make Him think I'm something that I'm not, that first of all is silly, because He knows. He knows anyway.
Right.
It's like, what you doing, girl?
Yeah.
But as long as you can make it to Him, and say, I'm not hiding anything from you.
This is it.
So this is this intimate place. I'm vulnerable, I'm intimate, and I'm sincere.
Yes.
So like here.
Yes.
Fix it.
and it's safe. And what I love about that you just brought out so amazingly is that we think of overcoming as I'm an overcomer, David slayed Goliath.
Yeah.
But it's not just from a place of that kind of powerful approach. It's like you bring those vulnerabilities to God, and His strength is cultivated in you.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily from a place of like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Hercules, it's like that vulnerable place that you mentioned is the beautiful place of where you start to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Where you lay it all down and you get all the stuff out of the way, and you're in front of someone who's not going to judge you, and actually knows how to put you back together.
Right.
The right way.
Masterful.
And wants to. And wants to.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to mention that when we consider how God forms us, He forges us through our testings and our trials.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I wanted to bring out with that is that we don't realize sometimes that even though we see ourselves a certain way, that God is saying, just like He did with Job, have you considered my servant Job?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like we have to see ourselves through the eyes of God, because in that statement, what He's saying is, Job is an overcomer.
Right.
And no matter what you do to him, he's going to stay loyal to me.
Right.
So it's like God is saying, sometimes when He allows us to go through things, I already know who she is.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't see ourselves that way. And we don't realize that God is boasting us and bragging on us even when we feel so, we can't see ourselves the way God sees us. You might feel like you're floundering or you're not doing well. But God is saying, no, you overcame that. Mm-hmm. You stayed steadfast. Yes, you were hurting. Yes, you might have felt weak, but you kept going. And so sometimes we look at ourselves in a defeated place, and God is not looking at us like that. He's looking at us like, I know where her heart is. Mm-hmm. And that's the place of overcoming. In your heart, what your heart is going to manifest no matter what you're facing and going through.
Right.
Your heart is going to stay steadfast towards your love for God. You know, even as a parent, your love for your children. There are things, it's almost like you have to have a vision of overcoming. You have to focus on, this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
These are all the things that are in the way, but this is where I'm going. I'm going to the other side. Right. And God's going to help me run against a troop or leap over a wall, whatever I have to do to get there. But the focus is on maintaining that intimate connection. Mm-hmm. Because when you have that, you're going to be following His leading and guiding anyway.
Right.
And it's going to take you over or through whatever you have to go over or through or up or under, whatever the case may be.
I love that. You know? So you said you have to have a vision of what overcoming looks like, right? Mm-hmm. So would you say in your process and some of the things that you went through, and that visualizing and envisioning being on the other side of it, did it take you long to marry the concepts of I'm actually out and this is what I envisioned? Like, once you were out, was it like, oh, wait a minute? Or was it like a moment where you knew I've overcome this particular thing, so now let me perpetuate that disposition, like you said earlier?
You know, I feel like for me, it was like a process.
Okay.
Like what my vision was liberty.
Okay.
I'm so serious.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm supposed to be free.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be controlled and bound up and browbeaten and all that stuff. It's like literally the liberty of Christ was exploding in me to the point because of that intimacy. And I have to keep driving that, because that's what Dear God Loved Me, from what I read with your information, is about. It's like that place was so real inside of me that what was going on the outside of me, I couldn't live there.
Yeah.
So my breakthrough was literally, you know, that liberation. My praise sustained me, keeping me in my right mind. I'm being real with you that there were days when I prayed, well, just don't let me lose my mind. Wow. And I didn't have the luxury of just getting out. If you think about it, I hate to say it like this, like gangs, they say you try to get out, they don't let you out. But when you're in an oppressive situation, the enemy doesn't want to let you go.
Absolutely not.
So once I started taking the steps, the amount of opposition, the fight continued. Even after he got remarried, he was still trying to make my life difficult. I got false CPS reports on me. I'm telling you, there was one time when he hit my daughter's whereabouts for me. I went through it.
Wow.
Didn't want to support. Told me he was going to sabotage me. Told me I was never going to have my children. When I tell you it was a fight. It was a real fight. And so, I bear witness to what Dear God Love Me is all about. And I keep driving that same point. You have to have a relationship with God.
Absolutely.
You're not going to overcome without that.
Yeah.
You have to. You don't know how to overcome. He has to guide you. He had to guide me every step of the way. So here I am a single parent. I don't have any money to get an attorney. He said, "Oh, we're going to make an agreement. We're not going to go to court, whatever." Next thing I know, I'm slapped with court papers for custody.
Oh, my gosh.
And my friend who was an attorney, she said, "No, you can't afford to pay me. I'm going to coach you from the sidelines." And I had to really trust God and trust her, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't know how to navigate through that. And, sidestep the things that were intended to entrap me.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when they were like, she said, "I don't care what he says, go before the judge for your visits." Because she said, "What I'm about to say is going to hurt you, but they're so young." Because at the same time, God was leading me to relocate. He said, "Don't take them." She said, "Don't take them with you right away. The courts won't look favorably on that. We're going to draw up a parenting agreement. After they're with him a certain amount of time, then he'll come to be with you." He was determined for that not to happen. And she said, "But go before the judge for your visits." And when they presented it, he was like, "Oh, she can visit him anytime." He's going, and he kept saying, "She wants to go before the judge." And the more they said it to him, the more angry he got. Because that's not what was going to happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He wasn't going to do that. He wasn't going to be nice. Because he wasn't nice the whole time. It was a real fight, constantly. And my overcoming, like I said earlier, had to do with me and my children.
Yeah.
Because now I have this charge, this stewardship, to make sure that they're good. And for a time I had to do that with them, not with me. That's why I say, people say, "Oh, you're such a prayer warrior." I'm like, no, don't glorify me. Don't glorify that.
Right.
Because I better have been a prayer warrior.
Right.
Because I had to cover them in a way that even if I wasn't there, they were covered. And I had to do that back to that intimacy through prayer. I had a prophet literally call me out in church one time and said, I didn't even go for prayer. He said, "Come on up here. Your prayers are really sustaining your children's lives."
Wow.
And so, it was painful on different levels.
Yeah.
Because the type of selfishness that's a lot of time in an abuser wasn't necessarily for the children's good, but just to get at me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I had to cover them, still not be negative about their dad, because that doesn't help them.
Right.
Determine that they're going to be successful no matter what the challenges are. And it was, I'm saying was because now they're in their 20s, they're grown women now, but I can't even tell you that the only way I was able to get through that is through the Dear God Love Me. I had to really understand how much God loved me, because people talk about the physical part of intimate partner violence a lot, but people don't realize that the mental and verbal abuse,
gosh, yeah,
it breaks you down from the inside. And the reason why it breaks you down so much, because even though that person is abusing you, at that moment, they're still your husband or whoever, or wife, because it could be the other way too. And so they're one with you. So it's like someone that's a part of you is tearing you down from the inside. And it's like I was not like I am now. I was totally listless. I didn't even understand why my family was concerned, because I was so poorly adjusted at the time. I didn't even realize what was happening. But that's the part where I had to fight to overcome the most, because getting back to me, that was one of the biggest overcoming moments, the journey back to Simona.
Wow.
And I will encourage anybody that's been through any type of situation, whether it's IPV or whatever else, that if you ever feel like you're losing yourself, that's the point where you have to tell yourself, I'm an overcomer. I'm going to make a journey back to me. Because who God made you to be is so important.
Yeah.
when you think about Jeremiah 29:11, and then 139th Psalm, where it tells you I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, you gotta really embrace that and really re-identify yourself by the standards of God to be an overcomer. You have to.
Right.
That's why David was able to slay Goliath. He knew exactly who he was. He knew that he had fought literally lions and tigers and bears off the sheep with his bare hands and his slingshot.
Literally.
He put on Saul's armor. That wasn't who he was. He was like, no, I can't do it with this. Just give my slingshot and my 5 smooth stones, and that's where I'm going to work from. Right. So I would say that that's another thing about overcoming. You got to embrace and know who you are. And if for any reason, anything in life has caused you to veer off from who you are, I'm encouraging everybody to take a journey back to yourself. Your authentic self, who God made you to be, and find out the beauty of who that person is. And yes, I'm a makeup artist, but I'm not talking about the physical beauty. I'm talking about the beauty of the essence of who you are. Find that person again. That's the overcomer. Because that shapes and forms the way you deal with life. Even as a makeup artist, there's the ministry aspect to what I do. Because when women come, I lift their beauty, lifts their heart, lifts their self-image. And that's the most important thing about being an overcomer, because you view life through how you view you a lot of times. And if you don't view yourself in a healthy way, you can't overcome. And you can only get that identity through that intimacy with God. Like, dear God, love me. And like you said earlier, you said, everything that I needed to overcome was already in me.
There.
You know? And it's like, you were like, it's in the road already. You just have to identify it, that road back to, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I'm going to live. You know, not walking around like, with a big torch, like, I'm an overcomer.
Right.
But like, I'm an overcomer.
Really make it real.
Yeah, because I think being an overcomer is also being who you are, no matter what situation you're in, where you don't allow life to mold you into something that you're not because of the pressures of life. I've been through the pressures. I've dealt with homelessness, all that stuff, because I got sick, started having seizures out of nowhere.
What?
I had to go on disability, which was less than a quarter of my salary. Lost everything, lost my car, lost my place, because it's like you couldn't sustain, and at the time when my oldest daughter was going to high school, graduating from high school.
Oh my
and
gosh.
At first she was very discouraged because it looked like my senior year is going to just fold. But God.
Wow.
But God. All things work together for the good, for real.
Absolutely.
Because I couldn't work that job that was really like, I was, very high professional in the beauty industry at Estee Lauder, but it was like taxing. And that's when I was getting those attacks and false CPS reports. It was like I was under so much pressure. And, the doctor was like, you don't have epilepsy, you don't have all that, but you're exhausted. And that's why your body is like going into this. But that place of intimacy and being who you are, staying connected to people, still being a bright light and engaging, like the engagement that we have, keeping that in spite of what you're going through, the blessings flowed and people were just happy to see us overcoming, and they just poured into us. I didn't pay for anything her senior year. Not one thing. And I was a makeup artist, I didn't pay for, I didn't pay for that. I didn't pay for anything. I say nothing. And that was a lot through just being who you are, staying who you are. Even with people, those relationships are valuable.
Absolutely.
So.
Oh, wow. I learned a lot about you today.
Yes.
What a blessing.
Thank you. I'm grateful.
You're even more amazing than I thought you were.
Oh, my goodness.
You really are. Thank you so much for coming. You gave us everything, really. You have a really, really, really powerful, inspiring, encouraging story. It has to feel like the utmost validation to know that you didn't go through anything you went through in vain. Because you sharing it alone is going to help liberate and encourage and uplift so many people. And I'm excited to share this with everyone, and I'm so honored that you decided to come and share with us today. What do you have to tell us how to stay connected to you on social media, how to hire you for makeup, how to call you in the morning for inspiring messages. Like, Simona, I need some help. Anything. Just tell us how to stay connected to you.
You can stay connected to me on Facebook. Simona Petra Ross is my name on Facebook. And Instagram, I'm at Naturally Petra. You can direct message me. You can message me on Messenger, whichever way you want to do. You can even call me. I'll give you my number because I have people that call me all the time. And I do put inspirational messages on Facebook that are connected with beauty, but not just the beauty, but life messages. Also on Instagram as well. So you can, like I say, you can direct message me, or you can send me a message on Messenger, and you can call me on 516-770-5222. And we do have some things coming up, and I'm going to try to get Miss Rowe involved. It's called the Pages of Beauty. It's already in place, but I like to have people like yourself come and we do a makeover session, but then you talk about your perspective of the beauty of who Rowe is. And it inspires other women. And I want to create a platform where we're building each other up.
I love that.
You know?
Let me know.
Yeah, and then we'll put it on her page so then you guys can see it. If you want to be a part, then you can message me. It's open to everyone. It's no...
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I certainly will put your contact information, how to stay connected with you and everything, and some links. I don't know. That's the mastermind. Does all that stuff. But we'll figure it all out. And thank you again.
Yeah, it was my pleasure to be here. I was honored to be here.
We have to do this again sometime.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm excited to share with you on your platform as well.
Yes, I am too.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Bye.